Howdy folks, welcome to Beards and Camo. On this video we're going to get into some reports of military personnel encountering Bigfoot. The first one takes place on May 21st, 1977 at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point in North Carolina. The report reads, on May 21st, 1977, around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 off-duty Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point military police officers were out joyriding on Forest Route 144 in Croatan National Forest outside Havelock, North Carolina. They were traveling about 20 miles an hour down the curvy 2-track road when they saw a 6 to 7 foot tall bipedal creature covered in brown hair. They observed the creature for approximately 3 seconds before it turned to the right about 75 yards away and went into the thick brush. The officers went up to where the creature went into the brush but saw or heard nothing. They yelled out and listened in case it was a human or to hear anything. They heard nothing. They were unarmed, so they remained in the vehicle. They could not see further than 50 foot into the brush because of this. It was so thick. The creature was 6 to 7 foot tall, covered in long brown hair. It had a muscular build. The area is thick forest and swamplands. They did not report this sighting until after retirement. So the next report happened October 1st, 1965 at the Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It reads, I experienced this incident while living on a military base in North Carolina. I was approximately 14 or 15 years old at the time. I am 50 now, however the incident is still fresh in my mind. At the time there was nothing for a young boy to do, so my favorite pastime was wandering the military reservation and searching for discarded sea rations, as we never had enough food to eat in the house. There were 8 people in my family. Now, for those of you that know what sea rations are, they're like old style MREs. Food that's preserved for military personnel to take out into the field with them. Not real tasty. Some are dehydrated. You add water. Back then, I haven't had many. What I did have wasn't that good. They're in little cans and just not very good. Military MREs nowadays still aren't very good. I don't think so. You got to put a lot of salt and pepper and hot sauce in them. But anyhow, on with the account. So, one day I had skipped school to go sea ration hunting. I'll never forget that day. It was very warm and sunny, which for North Carolina is not unusual for a fall day. We used to call it Indian summer. I had been wandering the deeper recesses of the reservation and was proud of the fact that not only had I stumbled across an old farmstead that the Marine Corps had condemned in order to take the land, but had plenty of good supply of discarded sea rations. Realizing it was getting late and I had better get home, I hit the tank trail made by the Marines for their vehicles to use. I was getting closer to home, so I decided to leave the trail and shortcut it through the woods. I knew this particular area and always decided to avoid it because it was known as the Poccasin, which in local terms meant an area that is real dense and swampy. As I made my way into the Poccasin, something really seemed out of the ordinary. All day I was used to hearing the sounds of the forest, birds, frogs, squirrels chattering, and what was great, not seeing another human being. Now it was so quiet, it didn't seem natural. Something made me stop. To this day, I am perplexed about this. I don't know why, because at that age you have no fear, as you think you're going to live forever. I had no fear this time either. However, I felt that I was being watched. I have never had that feeling again. I slowly started to turn my head to the right when I caught a glimpse of brown. My first thought was, oh, it's only a deer. I stood stock still and kept looking at the brown patch, and it didn't move. It was in a very dense part of the Poccasin, and my second thought was maybe it's not a deer, but maybe a discarded Marine Corps field jacket. Now that would be a treasure. As I started to go towards the object, I started hearing the crashing of brush. Then that brown patch moved, only it moved higher. I estimated a height of between 8 and 10 feet. As it grew in height, it also grew broader, exposing more of itself. I never saw its head or any real features other than the long fur, because that thing was moving so fast through the Poccasin that I was amazed how any animal that size could do that. The crashing of the branches and the underbrush was so loud, and all I could do was stand there. I don't know how long I remained in that position, and all I remember is the sounds of the forest returned, and that snapped me back to present. I have only recalled this story once, and I was told never to repeat it to anyone and to never go back to those woods. The last account of this video also happened at Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It happened on June 16th, 1999. It reads, I live in Carteret County, and at the time I worked in Oslo County, and the commute every day took me through Camp Lejeune, which used to be pronounced Camp Lejeune, but now everybody calls it Lejeune. Anyhow, used to take me through Camp Lejeune via the back gate. As I made the turn onto Highway 17, off of Highway 172, I noticed that what I thought was a bear sitting down under a huge pecan tree, about 50 or 60 feet distance between me and that bear. I decided to pull off the road and watch him for a minute. It was a warm July morning, and I had the windows down in my truck as usual, and noticed the most ungodly smell I had ever experienced. It was kind of like rotten eggs mixed with sewage and sulfur. As I sat and watched, I quickly realized this was no bear, as the creature stood up from the crouched position, walked over to the pecan tree, and began shaking it. I was floored by what I was watching. Understand that this pecan tree is immense in size, and the creature had no problem shaking the pecans from it. Pecans that are still in the green hulls, by the way. I wanted a better look at it since the whole sighting was with its back to me. So I put the truck in first gear, ready to bug out if need be, and blowed the horn. It suddenly stopped and just completely froze still with its back to me. It stayed like that till I laid down on the horn about 10 seconds later, and it slowly turned and looked at me. That's when my heart decided to do a 50-yard dash in 2.3 seconds. I couldn't see its face that well, but it stood about 8 to 10 feet tall, and its hair was very long and matty. It stared at me for what seemed like an eternity and made a loud screaming noise and tore off into the woods in a sprint. From the tree to the woods was about 30 yards, and it took it no time to reach them. I'm talking split seconds. On my way home that day, I decided to stop again, and even though the creature was gone, I could still smell that ungodly mix of stench. To this day, when I pass that pecan tree, my heart races. Well, there's 3 of them for you. I personally know someone that is stationed down at Cherry Point. That's why I put that account first for him. He is a few miles away from where that sighting took place, so maybe he'll be able to get out and poke around, drive around 5, and find Forest Route 144 and take a cruise down that way. I'll be putting out some more videos of military personnel encountering Bigfoot throughout the United States, but I wanted to start out with a few from North Carolina just for him. Alright, folks, keep your eyes out there. You never know what's out there watching you or what you might come across. And be careful. And as always, I love you. God loves you. I'm out.